Hey, we want to talk now about referrals, and I got to tell you what, every broke financial advisor says the same thing. Is they say to us, we'll say, let's walk through your marketing plan and what you do to build clients. And almost all the broke ones say, I get all my clients from referrals or from word of mouth, right? And
which really means they're not doing any marketing.
yeah, well, and I come across as sarcastic asshole sometimes with this, but I'll then say, well, let's walk through the referral systems that you're utilizing to create that traffic. And usually the response is systems.
Yeah.
Right?
Creating traffic.
Yeah. And what we're talking about is having a whole bunch of different strategically planned methodologies for sparking referrals, right? And
not just letting them happen on their own and hoping and crossing your fingers and seeing if maybe the people will tell their friends about you, because while that can happen, and if you do a good job will happen once in a while, unless you have a ton of clients, it doesn't happen enough. And even if you do have a ton of clients, it probably doesn't happen enough to replace.
Well, let's be a little ruder about it. If you're meeting with somebody once or twice a year, even once a quarter, and a conversation comes up about a relevant topic that you could solve, they're not thinking about you.
Yeah.
You're not on the top of their mind, on their tip of their tongue. You're not somebody who's coming to mind, right?
Right.
When
they're talking to their friends, when they're having a beer with their friends, when they're on the boat with their friends.
Yeah, yeah. And so one is, and this is a client service and communication issue as well. If you're not communicating with your clients, I prefer every day, right? I don't mean you're picking up the phone and calling them. But if you don't have regular email, you have note cards. My favorite story on that is Joe Girard, remember?
Yeah.
And he was the Guinness World Record holder for selling the most cars. And by the way, this was Chevys or something, right?
Right.
So it wasn't like he did the most dollar amount.
Interesting story of everybody,
yeah. But one of his things that he did is everybody he had ever sold a car to, and probably all of his prospects too, I don't remember it vividly enough, but everybody he had ever sold a car to got a personal card from Joe Girard every month. And sometimes it was just happy, St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
And I like you, Joe Girard. But what that was doing, it was keeping him in mind, right? I mean, the last, well, I bought two at once, but I bought that BMW 650iX convertible and the X5 at your suggestion, by the way, V8.
I talked you into it.
Yeah. In both transactions, I vaguely remember that I liked the salesperson. I have no idea what their name was. If somebody said, "Oh, I like your car, I'm thinking about buying one," I wouldn't,
They haven't done anything to reach out to you since then.
No.
And they probably made a lot of money from you on that one sale.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't know. And the one, ironically enough, I ended up buying, when I bought that Mini Countryman for my daughter for graduation, ended up being the same person by accident because I didn't go look for her, right? And by the way, the counterpoint to that, not to stay on cars, but I bought a Jaguar XK8 from Hector. And Hector ended up selling me a 911 Turbo as well. And Hector was constantly in communication, touching base with me. When the new XKR came out, he called me. When in fact, when I bought the 911 Turbo, he almost sold me two Porsches in the same day, like the BMWs, because it had to have something with service, so he sent me home for the weekend with a Porsche Cayenne. And I damn near bought a Cayenne and the Turbo the same day. But now, this is like, the XK8, this is like 99. I remember Hector from 99. And a complete different experience, right?
Sure.
And so part of building referrals, from my perspective, is constant being in front of your clients in a positive way. And that could be gifting, it can be holiday cards, it can be note cards, it can be a daily email that's coming from you. It can be, one reason that a lot of advisors do a podcast is that their clients listen in every week or listen in every month, right? So part of generating referrals is being engaging with your clients where it's really all the time.
Yeah, and what we see in contrast is for a lot of advisors, they may or may not meet with their clients once a year.
Yeah. Oh, remember we talked to one, and it was a family business and since transitioned to the kids, and they actually said, well, we have 600 clients on the books, but a lot of them wouldn't even know that, so-and-so retired 3 years ago. They're actually afraid to tell them because they don't want to.
Right. They're afraid to meet with them because they may pull their business because so-and-so retired.
Yeah. And it's just so backwards, right? Is I want it to be when I go out with my friends for dinner or lunch, and the topic comes up of I'm stressed out because my kid's doing really good grades. I'm afraid they're going to get into Harvard, and we don't have money set aside. I have a gal who could help you with that. She has just been so good, and we love her to death. And Sue could help you with that. If you want, I'll connect and see if she has a time that she could talk to. See, you want to be top of mind, right? And there's a lot of other things we'll talk about, tools and reports and events. But what we know is if they don't even remember who you are, if they don't feel that constant connection, the last thing that's going to happen is when it comes up in conversation, they're going to point them at you.
Right. Like it's a really good example about the car, though. You remember Hector from a long time ago, but you don't remember the BMW salesperson. You bought 3 vehicles from her. That's
well, to be fair too, because I bought the convertible at a different place. But
I thought you bought the other one.
No.
But so 2 vehicles from her. So, but 2 vehicles.
My daughter. I bought the X5 on Monday and the 650iX on Wednesday. And I pulled up in the convertible and she said, "What the hell do you have, a BMW punch card?" I blamed you.
Yeah, it's my fault. I talked to you, Nick, because you were all Porsche before that.
Other than motorcycles, I had never had a BMW.
But anyway, I mean...
By the way, I'm still a Porsche guy. I still have the turbos, but...
You got more BMWs, so you're a BMW guy.
Motorcycle, X5, convertible...
Yeah, BMW. But anyway...
Many qualifies.
So just being on top of mind and having you in front of them is important. And, when different versions of financial crises happen, what we find from some advisors is they kind of jump under the table and don't even talk to their clients. And instead, the ones that we've worked with that were successful, they were more active in talking to them. And in almost every case, they got more business out of it because people were then calmed down and were ready to invest more because there were opportunities in financial crises. So there's just again and again so many reasons. So let's go over.
Well, and by the way, this feels laborious even when we start talking about it, right? If I say you need to be in communication with your clients more, a lot of our clients, what they hear when we say that to begin with is, "I'm really busy already."
Right.
Well, one is I like one-to-many communications, right? So I have a meeting where they can bring their friends. I'm speaking from stage. I have a meeting a Zoom meeting where they can bring their friends.
Let's maybe write down some of the ideas. So if we're talking about referrals, one of the things is top of mind.
Yeah.
And
for one of a bit more precise term, warm fuzzy feelings about you.
No. You're right. Warm fuzzy feelings.
Warm fuzzy feelings. See, if I like you, and you're interesting, you're unique, you're personable. I'm getting the I like you cards from you. I mean, that's
and it's
Cialdini's
fun.
principle.
It's fun too.
Yeah.
You know, it's warm, fuzzy, and you're a real person.
Yeah.
You're not just this guy that has a Mass Mutual account, and you're one of the other advisors of Mass Mutual, and they could call somebody else if you're somebody specific that they care about.
Well, and see, this happens via audio. That's one of the things we like about podcasts. It happens via video. It happens in group settings. The more, and by the way, the way you butcher this is you'll do a live meeting for clients and use a PowerPoint. You never put yourself
face,
on,
yeah.
your face on it. And worse yet, you have somebody else narrate it, or you have it pre-canned, right?
Yeah, you download the company PowerPoint, and it doesn't have your name or logo on it. It's just got a company logo, and you're not customizing it for you and making it part of you.
Or you don't have the picture of you with the kids on vacation. You don't have you with the picture on the dogs. You on the picture on the motorcycle. I mean, something that makes you human and different and unique, right?
And fun.
Yeah, fun. But so you start with top of mind, and that's the constant communication where they constantly feel like they have a relationship with you. And the weakest of all of those is email, right? But the nice thing is it's free mostly.
And it can be one to many, as you said.
Yeah.
I just have one email and it goes out to everybody. That content can be repurposed then to your blog and everywhere else. It can be coming from your podcast.
But so can the podcast, and that has a lot of personality built in. So is a Zoom meeting. So is a webinar. So is a meeting where on a specific topic where my clients are invited to come down and bring their friends.
Let's write that one down, like events.
Yeah.
And this can be live in person or live online. And we've had a lot of clients be very successful recently with live online meetings because people are a lot more used to being on Zoom or on a video conferencing system. Even older people, because they've had to be in recent times, be able to just talk to their family, be online. And
well, the COVID thing is it taught essentially everybody how to do Zoom and how to use QR codes. And so beforehand, both of them, though, it had a more limited audience, and that there's an advantage. But here's what we know about events: is you expecting your client to be good at selling their friends on your service is a fool's errand. Very few.
Yeah, just having them come into your office and ask them for referrals, or even giving rewards out. We should talk about that too.
Yeah, we want to talk about that quite a bit. But what we know is it's a low-hanging bar. It's really easy for you to have a topic that's interesting, and for your client to bring their friend and to say, hey, my guy Peter or Sue is doing a special meeting about X, right? Whether it's the pilot retirement program at American Airlines, or whether it's the Biden tax plan and how that's going to affect your retirement planning, right? And again, the more current topic it is, the better, right? So if there's something going on in the news that is, and I use that one because obviously that's going on in the news now,
right?
But the more current it is on their mind, getting inside the conversation going on in their mind, it's easier for them to bring their friends. So that's where we like client appreciation events.
Yeah, so it can be something specific. It's a little better if it's specific to something related to their finances. But it can also be like a client appreciation event that we've had people do them at art galleries.
Winery.
Winery's a good one. So bringing their friends to something like that. But there's a reason for their friends to come, separate from, oh, please bring your friends, and hope they bring their friends. Or just bring their friends for a dinner. Yeah. So a winery.
Well, like even our clients, we're here at the U.S. Naval Academy. And we're
right now.
We're filming this in Annapolis, and we had a lot of clients bring their friends.
Right.
Because it's the U.S. Naval Academy. We're doing leadership development. It's behind the scenes. It's an easy presentation.
Yeah, it's an easy reason for them to come because it's going to help their business. We're going to be talking about these kind of topics, and it's at a venue that's going to have some relationship to their business. Yeah. So that one's a little better because it's specific to something that if they bring their friends, then we're going to talk to them about working with us in other ways. But it could be something in your business also that's vaguely unrelated, like at the art gallery or a customer appreciation night. But then that's also a great way to generate leads. And then we're going to do a separate talk about how to turn client referrals into leads. Yeah. But events
most people do a horrible job of that.
Yeah. And if you've done events like this and you're thinking, well, I don't want to do that because they never worked, we can help you make them work like gangbusters and really be successful. But getting your clients to refer their friends just straight up because you hope they do it won't work, but events are really effective.
Well, and let's modify that for a second. If what a lot of people think is, I have 200 clients, and if all of them bring me a friend, once a year, I mean, I can't handle it, right?
Right.
But the corollary to that is, if I have a client that brings me a referral, right, outside of this type of event, and they become a client, is what I see, and of course it depends on compliance and different things, but I see a lot of people trying to incentivize, bringing a friend. And again, I mean, you may or may not be in a position where you can do that. And this applies to circle of influence types, accountant professionals as well. But what happens with almost all of those situations is most of them never bring you anybody. Right? However, what we miss is, I always try to make it really personal, but let's say Sue Jones brings me down her friend who ends up becoming a good client. Well, I always try to figure out what Sue likes. And so let's say that Sue likes this day spa, or her favorite restaurant is this Italian restaurant, or whatever it might be. Maybe she loves wine and she loves California varietal, whatever the hell.
Right.
I start to talk too much and I get into what I don't know anything about, right?
Yeah.
But I'm much better off to, once Sue brings me a new client, is now she gets the $200 certificate for her spa, right? With a personal note of, hey, I so appreciated the opportunity to be of benefit for your friend Bill, and I really appreciate you thinking about me. And by the way, here's a $200 certificate for their favorite spa or their favorite Italian restaurant or whatever. And the opposite, the major fail. As you know, I used to spend, tons of money on TV. $300,000-400,000 a year probably, or inflation adjusted, $750.
Yeah.
And one day I show up at my office and I've got a golf bag. And I don't know anything about golf. I don't play golf, but I had this, what must have been an extremely expensive leather golf bag with a note attached from, I think it was Channel 9, which was, I forget, ABC, CBS, with a note from the sales rep.
Thanks for buying.
Thank you so much for, for being a great client, and we wanted to gift you. Well, talk about missing the mark, right? Now this is 27 years ago, and I still use the story about, they spent $500, which in relative terms to what I was spending was rounding error, right? But to gift me something that I had no appreciation for whatsoever.
Yeah, right? It's almost like it's like an insult.
Yeah.
But what also doesn't work is preemptively trying to gift. So what we see some people do is, hey, if you refer a client, I'll give you the gift card, and it's sitting on their desk. Refer a client and get a $100 gift card at, the steakhouse or whatever. That's that.
Well, and I've heard in which you could never get me to say this, but I get compensated in two ways. I get compensated for obviously the commissions I get for what you've done, but I also get compensated by you bringing me friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can utilize that kind of language in a different way. There's a great example. Patty Lund, He was in Australia, and he built this multi-million-dollar dental practice through referrals only. But the whole conversation was, the front doors are locked. Nobody got in without an appointment, and nobody got in unless they were referred by a client. But they had this whole shtick about, we don't accept new patients. If you called them on the phone and Sue hadn't brought you down, they sent you somewhere else. But every new client got as you know, the only reason you were accepted into the practice is you're Bill's friend, and we cherish Bill, and we wanted to help Bill. And so one of the things that we do here at the practice, we try to keep it a tight family, and we provide, you know, hopefully extraordinary levels of service. And if you know somebody who would appreciate that level of concierge service, that's the only way they can be accepted into the practice. Now, see, that's different from that other pitch. But where we were going with that earlier is, once you get a client who sends you a referral, or once you get a CPA who sends you a referral, or once you get a lawyer who sends you a referral, you're much better off to lavishly gift them on something that they'll appreciate. The more personal, the better.
But note that it's after the fact.
After the fact.
It's not...
And unexpected.
Yeah, and it's not unexpected. It's not I go to the CPA or the lawyer and try to bribe them, because the CPAs and lawyers
suck at selling.
They suck at selling. There's almost never been, you know, we keep talking to these people, they go, well, I'm trying to build this.
Well, and by the way, you have your background in engineering. So do engineers, but
I know more about that than anybody. But the engineers too, lawyers and CPAs.
You've broken free of that.
Thanks, mostly. Yeah. But the engineers and lawyers are not going to be good at selling. And we talk to a lot of people who say, well, I'm trying to build this circle of influence where I've tried to work out deals with these guys, and they're going to send me business.
Yeah, how's that working? It's sucking.
It never has worked. We haven't seen anybody that's been very good at it. And it's obvious, because there's not a good relationship. Now, if they have an event, or you do a cooperative event, which probably you're going to be better at bringing people to than they are, but all of their clients came to the same kind of thing, and all of your clients came to.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, like the CPA thing is one of the things that can work fine, right? It's just that you can't expect that guy to be good at selling your services. He's not any good at, or she's not any good at selling her own services. However, if he had 5 books that you were the author,
and that's another one here.
Yeah, if he had 5 books that you were the author on different specific topics, and when somebody was needing, you know, tax issues or college planning, whatever it might be, if he had, oh, by the way, you know, I've got a guy I work with, and he wrote a book on that subject, and here's the book. See, that would work, right?
Yeah, so that's another way you could use a circle of influence besides events, but books or a pass-along.
Well, but in the circle of influence, if he had you did a joint event with him on the potential impact of the new tax plan, that he could invite all of his clients to, you invite your clients to, and you did it. Or, frankly, he invites all of his clients that you do for his clients, and that could be Zoom, it could be webinar, it could be live. See, now that works, right?
Yeah, and you could have your book there.
Yeah.
Imagine you had your book there, whether he has a book or not, then that makes you an authority.
As you know, I've done a lot of this stuff where we did direct mail to all their clients. Sometimes they don't want to give me the list, that's fine. I bring it down with stamps and so forth, and they put labels on it or whatever they or address whatever they need to do. I've done it where they email all their clients. We can do an automated voicemail to their clients. We can do a text message to their clients. We can do a direct mail. Now, different ones are going to have different levels of comfort on, marketing their list, but you're not relying on them to sell you. You're giving them something that's easy to gift as a free gift for their clients. Now, that's different, and that's the same thing we're talking about with individual client referrals, is something that's easy to gift. You remember I did that one, and one was with that $780 million electronics chain. But we did a thing where every customer got a really nice certificate in an embossed envelope in a really nice, custom print or whatever the custom printing looks like.
Yeah.
And it was a really valuable looking certificate, and all of their customers got it. right? So there are certainly ways to get those circle of influence things to work, but the way that you think it's going to be is, I give you $500 for every new client I get, and you know, sell them to my practice. Well,
yeah, and most of the time we talk to people and they're giving them $50 anyway.
Right.
But $500, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what the amount is. It doesn't matter what kind of deal you try to work out with them. They're not going to be good at selling your product. Again, you're right. They're not good at selling their own.
Yeah.
And
their staff is even worse at
their
selling
staff is
their
much
own.
worse. So these events in combination are much, much better at working things out within that circle of influence, and you can be massively successful with those.
Yeah, yeah.
So referrals are going to be, let's see how we're doing on time here. But referrals are going to be based on, to kind of wrap up on where we're at, being in front of them a lot. And by the way, that's also a side effect of a lot of our clients are missing out on earnings because they're not getting, they could get a lot more invested, or they can get a lot more work done with their current clients just because they haven't talked to them enough. Yeah. They may have more money they need to invest. They may have more product they need to buy. Yeah. They may have other family members that need to do things. They may have gotten married and their spouse needs to be investing their money. There's all kinds of reasons why being on top of mind may have other ancillary benefits besides referrals.
And that comes, again, full circle back to that Ogilvy quote of, you're not marketing to a standing army, you're marketing to a moving parade. Their life is changing constantly.
Yeah.
And their associations are changing constantly.
Yeah, you gave the example of somebody that we know really well, just had a grandparent pass away and inherited like $400,000.
Right.
Well, if you're not meeting with your client, they may have just left the $400,000 in the bank, or thrown it in an index fund,
or go buy a new car,
or pay off their house, or whatever. They could have done all kinds of things. But if you were on the top of their mind and sending them emails and meeting with them on a regular basis, then they'd immediately think of you, immediately contact you, and then you could do some work with them, and it'd be in their best interest too. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah, but if you haven't plowed that road and haven't been constantly
or the other thing I was going to say is, we referred them to somebody to work with because they were on the top of our mind, or we would refer them to somebody because they were on the top of our mind, and we go, oh, well, you just inherited $400,000. Well, you ought to talk to so-and-so.
Yeah. But so, to break it down simply is one key element of referrals is to constantly be in communication. But I'm not talking about you have to pick up the phone personally. That can be one-to-many, and it can be written, it can be email, although don't make that the only piece of it. So they could be getting a daily email from you. You could be putting out a weekly or a monthly podcast that you have all your clients listen to, things that would be appropriate for them. You can have a Zoom meeting or a webinar once a month, twice a month on slightly different topics that they are invited to bring their friends to. But if you're not imbuing them with remembering warm fuzzy feelings, with them loving and appreciating you constantly, you're not going to be top of mind, and you're not going to get that. Then the second element is make it simple for them to bring along a friend. Don't expect them to pitch you. Expect them to say, hey, I've got this book you'd like. Hey, I've got this CD you'd like. Hey, I've got this information. And by the way, the move to making everything digital is a mistake. It's very hard, it's really easy, but it's very non-valuable to pass along a link to a website, right?
Yeah. A USB drive would be something physical.
Yeah.
Because if it's not physical, then you're expecting them to remember. I always think that, like even on TV advertisements, they flash a website on, and that's really, it has some effectiveness, but it's not as effective as giving your clients something physical.
Yeah, and then it's when you do have somebody who brings you something, really being appreciative, right? Really showing that you're knowledgeable about them, that you know something unique and individual about them. And it's, again, imagine Sue sends me her friend Bill, and I send her an email. Oh, hey, Sue, thanks for the referral. I have no warm, fuzzy feeling about that. I mean, it's better than not acknowledging it, but it's not like a lot better.
Right.
Versus I get a personal call. Versus I get a personal note, handwritten, live stamp with a gift certificate to my favorite restaurant, right? Well, along the spectrum is you knowing enough to understand enough about what I'm interested in. The opposite of the golf bag sitting in the office. You know, that was eventually given away to somebody.
Yeah, you end up giving it away. It really, it almost has the opposite effect.
Yeah.
You get pissed off because somebody, getting an email because you referred to somebody can essentially backfire on you.
In this case, it was humorous, right? At the same time, I remember there's a waterman.
It was humorous because you took it well, though.
Yeah.
Because you might take it as, I spent $500,000 with you
it
guys.
It gave me a great story, right?
It gave you a great story, but I might think, I spent $500,000 with you guys, and you gave me this thing that I don't even want.
Yeah.
So I can see how somebody would take it.
It's not like my Frontier Airlines story, right? So, you know, that was I told everybody who would listen, including the 30,000 people on the email list, of don't ever give them a penny ever again, because they pissed me off at that level, right?
So you've got to, but the key is that we end up with trying to you've got to turn what you think referrals are.
Yeah.
It's not beg them for referrals, and it's not try to bribe people for referrals. Yeah. It's have reasons for people to refer people, make it easy for people to refer people, and then thank them really profusely afterwards in big dramatic ways so that they know they were appreciated. Maybe they'll refer more people, maybe they won't, but then it's a great environment for referrals in your business.
And one more thing, although we're out of time, is the other thing that I would say is know as much information as possible about each of your clients. And this is not only about making it personal, but do you know where they all work? Do you know what their job role is? Do you know what's going on? Because again, I use examples of, you know, with the top pro football team in Denver, the top pro basketball team, and one of the biggest banks in the country, and with one of the biggest fast food. Well, any of those relationships, you start going, well, what does their company need, right? Could I be, you know, I mean, you remember my friend Don. I got him from going to, you know, working with the HR department in companies to being like the C-suite guy for Hyundai, Kia, a whole bunch of other companies like that. And it was just moving the expectations up, right? But if I have, well, I mean, I had the human resources director of one of the largest, the largest employer in the state of Colorado at the time, right? Well, I managed to get payroll stuffers, and they let me come to all of the events, and I could do employee training and one thing or another. Well, they had 45,000 employees, all in a contained metro area, all with the same basic structure of what was happening in the company, and I had carte blanche to do anything I wanted to because the person at HR was a client and loved us, right? But guess what? Most advisors never figure out what their resources are.
Yeah.
Right? Or they don't see opportunity.
And this goes along with being on the top of their mind and meeting with them on a regular basis. And not just, I met with them 4 years ago and I got this demographic information on them, because you probably would do that initially, but continuing to ask the questions that you need to ask.
The client that I was lamenting off camera, I won't share his backroom foibles on camera.
Because we want him to watch all these.
That's not going to happen.
Because he won't.
But the one thing that I got him doing is he has his assistant going through each client's LinkedIn profile before he meets with them. And so now looking for who do they know, who are their associates, you know, what companies are they affiliated with, what are their hobbies. And so now when he goes in, at least he can say, I see you're friends with so-and-so. You know, I have some things that might be really helpful for him, which would be blank, 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 blank. Maybe you could make that connection. Or I see that, you know, you got promoted to chief marketing officer at CenturyLink.
Sure.
And I was thinking within CenturyLink, they have these types of problems. You're probably familiar with it. Here's some ways that I could help. Well, at least now when he's personally meeting with each of them, he has some sense of already opportunities that can come out of that meeting beyond just, doing their biannual or quarterly planning session. So, and that could be a whole different topic, but to wrap up, first thing with referrals is if you're not top of mind and they don't have warm, fuzzy feelings about you, they're not going to be sending you anybody. Because even if
they won't remember you.
Yeah, I wanted to find somebody for my friend because they've got a problem. It's random who they're going to go to, right? The second element is instead of trying to bribe people and looking desperate, again, you may not even be able to do that via compliance, but instead of trying to bribe people and looking desperate, gift them, right? Is do things that are unexpected, do things that are after the fact, and show real appreciation and real warmth and understanding for them as a person. Then two things happen that facilitate your clients and circle of influence outside of the client base, other professionals, is having easy, low-hanging ways for them to introduce their friends or their clients to you. And that can be pass along reports, books, CDs, DVDs, etc. Physical things that they can gift to their friends or clients. And it can be events, client appreciation events or educational events.
Right.
Those can be virtual, they can be in person. But it's easy for a client to bring somebody to an event. It's easy for, again, you got to be enticing on what the topic is.
Yeah, there has to be a reason for them to bring, for them to come and to bring their friend.
Yeah, and it could be we're going to the winery and I've got a guest ticket. Come with me. Or it could be, I know you're as worried as I am about blank, and here's an educational session. And I have a free ticket, which, by the way, different topic, but it's one of the things we always do is we print physical tickets.
Yeah.
Right. We print physical tickets. They're cheap.
Make it look like a concert.
Yeah, exactly.
And those,
we did
those
some that
are
looked
easy.
we did some that looked like Super Bowl tickets.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, that's real easy to do.
Yeah, and it's cheap.
Cheap too, amazingly.
Yeah. So we gave each client like 5 big ass Super Bowl looking tickets with a nice personal letter from us prior to the event that they could pass along to their friends and bring their friends along. But anyway, on that note, we'll wrap this up. But I know you may feel like you're doing a good job on referrals, but there's in all likelihood so much unexplored territory that if you really focused on it, we'd be happy to help you accomplish that. But there's so many different ways you can do it with minimal effort, and most of this stuff gets automated, frankly.
Yeah, this is exponentially going to change everything you get with referrals.
Yeah. On that note, we'll call it a day on that topic.